to this episode of the Main Dark Matters podcast, and we have the amazing Stephen J.D. Beattie back with us as a continuation of our previous chat. Stephen studies the heavens and how they are mirrored onto our lands, manifest from the North Celestial Pole, which is the tree of life, as above, so below, in this game of snakes and ladders in which we all play our part. And as we are learning, the deception is deep, the lie vast and all-encompassing. Don't look here, look there. The sleight of hand of Vaticanized timelines. That all the biblical stories emanated from Great Britain, and that Christianity was hijacked by the Roman, bastardized and sold back to us in the form of Roman Catholicism. Though there is more to this tale than that, and much more we can ever begin to cover in 2 podcasts. But that said, we're going to make a good go of it. It is time to remember who we are, and Stephen is here to help us all do just that. Stephen, thank you so much again for joining us and coming back for another chat.
Thank you for having me on again. Thank you very much.
We've just been chatting on camera, and I wish I recorded that, and I was just like, wow, you've just literally blown my head. So without further ado, I think we should just get straight into it.
I'll try and cover most of what I spoke about, but I'll probably miss bits of it. But yeah, I'll try and cover as much as what we spoke about off camera.
Honestly, but buckle up for this one, guys, because I was just saying, I think Stephen's picked out the nature of all existence. So, you know, if you don't like, share, and subscribe to this video, I'm going to come and find you all individually, hunt you down, and I won't say kill you. That's a bit harsh. So, yes. Yeah. The floor is yours, Stephen.
Thank you. So how did I share?
Not watched our other episode as well with Stephen. Go watch that one first, because as I say, this is a continuation of that one. So
yeah, watch the first one because it'll help. Or
yes.
it may help. It may help. So what we're going to, everybody can see this screen share now. Yeah, you're all right. I've got a few files here. So I've got a folder. What we were talking about the last time I was on, and what my focus is the heavens, and I'm trying to show people that if we don't understand the heavens and the formation of the heavens, we can't understand how these planetary movements and asterisms interact with our body, because it is as above, so below. And the studies that I've been doing, every single constellation up there in the heavens, I'm looking over Great Britain. So I'm looking over the north of Scotland, I'm looking over north of England, and I'm looking over southern England. And there's three levels, and that's what I'm going to talk about today. There's 3 heavens, 3 sites of vision that are marked throughout the country with standing stones. So what I'm going to do today is look at how the ancient texts tell us the creation story. And actually, I wanted to open up with, and I haven't got it yet, but I'm connected to the internet. So what I want to do is open up with Genesis. Find space in my cup. I've got no room. I've got no room. Yeah. What I want to do is open up with the most common creation story that everybody knows. And that doesn't mean they all agree with it, but everybody knows. And that is the Genesis story. So I'm going to look at Genesis 1, and then we're going to look at what's known as the Enuma Elish. It's telling me I've got low resources. So Genesis 1, and then we're going to look at the version of the Enuma Elish, which is the Babylonian story of creation. And the reason why we're going to look at that is because the Babylonian, I've got some papers here from universities, people who have studied the Enuma Elish and broken it down, and we're going to skip through that document. But first of all, I do want to read Genesis 1, because what I want to show is, or identify, that it is the same thing that we're reading. The Bible story is the same Babylonish, or the Babylon creation story. And there are 2 words. I wanted to actually read it in Hebrew, but I'll read it it doesn't matter. We'll read it in English. Anybody who has got an online concordance, they can check it in Hebrew themselves. Just to save making it more difficult. But so we've got the history of creation. I've used the King James. Oh no, that's the wrong one. I've used the New King James. Let me find. I always use the King James, and there's a reason why. the King James is the closest to the Old English, and Old English is closest to the Old Gaelic.
Yeah.
And they trying to put people, I can't even find King James, hold on. They try to put people off with the whole rubbish for King James. And King James studied the heavens. He actually studied the demons that are in the heavens. And the books of demonology that King James has written are very useful, because these are the 11 beasts I'm going to speak about that are in the heavens. And so, but there's 72 Goetia, the book that King James is known for, and that's the 72 paths on the Kabbalah tree, the 72 demons that are on the Kabbalah tree. So the King James is very important because there are Old English terms in there. There we go, I found it finally.
They use that one in the legal system, don't they, as well? The King
Yeah,
James for
King James is the
fraud
legal one.
reasons.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, so in the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth was without form and void. Now, that's really as far as we really need to go. I could go on and on. I will. So you've got darkness, but then we get to the third day. It's the third day that the sun and the moon are created. Yeah. So
Yeah.
there's light, there's darkness. The earth was without form and void. Now, this word here in Hebrew, you can check this out yourself. Let me just take a little drink. The word there is tahu, I suppose it's not. It's Tohu, tohu. It's not spelled that way, but that's how it sounded. And vahu. So, and that is vahu, tahu, and vahu. Now, within Kabbalistic teaching, for a start, it doesn't say in the beginning God created the heavens and the earth. It says Beroshit bara Elohim et hashamayim. Beroshit, with it means with the head. Berosh, this is the head. Rosh. So you've got Rossshire in Scotland and Ross everywhere. Roslyn and Roslyn Chapel, and so the Rosh means to the head. So Beroshit bara Elohim et hashamayim means with the head, or in the head, the Elohim created the heavens and the earth. So within consciousness, in the head, Beroshit bara Elohim et hashamayim. Hashamayim means the heavens. Haaretz means the earth. So it says Bereshit bara Elohim et hashamayim. Now I could break that. I could do a whole study on that verse that would last probably days because there's a lot in it. But I'm not gonna. The next verse, and the earth was without form and void. The Kabbalists tell us that it was an active, a living. It was two living entities. That's what the Kabbalah tells us. It was two primordial snakes or primordial dragons known as Tahu and Vahu, and they sat in the waters upon the deep. So they were, but it's telling you here, and darkness was on the face of the deep. So they're under the face of the deep. Creation hasn't happened yet. Waters haven't been separated at this point. And God said that there be light. So the light is the first formation before land. And then the third day, I think it is, that the sun and the moon and the stars are then created. So that is the beginning. And in the Kabbalistic teaching, anybody can go and see this. This Tahu and Vahu is seen as a primordial existence, a primordial world that existed before Elohim said, let there be. So there's this primordial creation. Where it came from, we don't know. And this is the strange thing when you look at the Babylonish Amuna Elish, or the Enuma Elish, sorry. When you look at the Enuma Elish, there is no origin stories either for these creatures. They just are. And the reason why I'm going to look at this, or wanting to look at this, is because I will just throw a couple of pictures up, first of all. Oh, I should have actually done the video, but no mind. You see here, this is standing stones in Scotland. Now, this is not unusual. Most of the standing stones in the northeast of Scotland, Aberdeenshire, Morayshire, slightly to the west, Dundee, they all have these markings on them, and there's a reason for it. And we can't understand the reason for it until we understand the primordial creation story. But you'll see up here, there's a snake on the top of this one. You'll see there's a lightning bolt or something. I call it a lightning bolt. The archaeologists who pretend they don't know what it is, the scholars who don't want us to know, or they know, but they don't want us to tell us what it is. It's an electrical lightning bolt, yeah. And what you have here is two circles. And these are on not just occasional stones. In the northeast of Scotland and partially the west of Scotland, there are literally hundreds, maybe even thousands of these stones with these markings. And the stones are anything from 700 BC, 4,500 BC to 700 AD. And the final stones, when the Picts, who they call the Picts, disappeared around about the 9th and the 1100s, the final stones are around about what we call the 900s. But they're still showing the same depictions. Yeah. And what they call them is class 1 Pictish stones or class 2. A class 1 Pictish stone will be thousands of years old, whereas as a class 2 normally has Christian symbols. But what I've discovered is it's not Christian symbols. So the stones that they're defining as 700 AD or 800, 900 AD are, in my opinion, potentially just as old as the ones that they have as Pictish stones, class 1, which are 4,000, 6,000 or 8,000 years old. I'm not saying they're, obviously there's a time, but they're not as new in period, because what they've done is they've had to take the Druid and Celtic faith and recreate Romanism. And so they've had to say, oh, this is on the stones, this happened after, the Dark Ages and when we came to Christianity. But I don't agree, because the stones themselves tell the picture of a catastrophe. And this is exactly what we're looking at here. And in order to understand where the catastrophe happened, we also need to break down who the deities are, who they are in the heavens, as in asterisms and constellations, and then we can realize why they are marked on the standing stones as being cast down. We need to understand their history, their battle in the heavens, as it's told in the Enuma Elish. And I hope that's what I'm going to. This video today, people will have to go back and back and back over it, but I have put it together in such a way that hopefully we'll map the heavens according to the old traditional deities and how they were seen. We'll map the three portions of the heavens, how they divided and with that, I want to show how Paul of the New Testament, he talks about a man being caught up to the third heaven. And so we can physically map where these three heavens are from the Enuma Elish. And we can see it actually not just in the old text, but we can see it on the earth physically in Britain. And we can see it physically written on the stones that our ancestors, your ancestors too, our ancestors, wherever you are in the world, this is your ancestors, yeah. The Celtic people are the ancestors. We colonized the whole world. They sent us off. They dispersed us to the ends of the earth so that the traditions and the faith could be rewritten as religion, and that we would forget about the heavens. But the Bible clearly tells us that we will be dispersed to the ends of the earth, but in the final days, we will be drawn back again to the North Celestial Pole, to the Garden of Eden. And that's what I'm trying to show. The world below, the three worlds, you've got the North Celestial Pole, which is the upper realm, which is the gate of heaven, which is the pole star Polaris. And in there are 7 lights of creation. And these are the 7 main gods or deities that we understand. And then you have a lower level below that, which is the Orion's belt level, which is over over Britain too. And then you have a lower level, which is the lower world. And the ancients actually had various deities or goddesses, virgin goddesses, who were the protectors of these worlds. And if you died you would come to these virgin goddesses, and we're going to look at how that was formed, hopefully, from. But this standing stone here, this is what you've got the Draco at the top of it. You've got a lightning bolt, and this is a disaster. This is the war in the heavens being shown between the gods. So I have another video. I'm going to skip through this video, and I'm not going to play it actually. I uploaded this video a few days ago, and I've done another version where I do an audio over it, explaining things. But what we're looking at here in this Pictish standing stone is you've got this V-rod again. You see here, and the people who study standing stones and the scholars just call it a V-rod with a crescent moon. They say they don't know what it is, but I know what it is. So, and I'm going to tell everybody what it is. Diana was the Roman goddess of the hunt, and she was very top of the tree near the North Celestial Pole. Diana, Princess Diana, and all that too. It's all connected, yeah. But Diana, that was the Roman goddess. The Greeks called her Artemis or Demeter. And Demeter was always represented by the crescent moon on her head, as was Diana. So Arthur the Bear, or Ursula the Major, or Artemis, or the Great Bear, or the Plough, or the Pan, or it's got various names. This represents the Greek Demeter, Artemis, or the Roman Diana. And what we see here is what I believe is Zeus's lightning bolt. Zeus didn't exist. We created the gods, but natural phenomena in the heavens, as the earth was being created from this primordial world, there was electrical storms, and they seen it as the god Zeus and his lightning bolts. But somewhere in history, the lightning bolt hit the earth and created a comet. It split in two, and the comet was actually the sun. Sirius and today's sun split in two. That's what the comet was. But all the standing stones in the UK or in Scotland show exactly where it hit. And you'll see here, there's a mirror here, and it's a vanity mirror. I'll show you on the constellation. We can actually jump to that. It would be easier to show it. So you've got the House of Cephas, which is over Aberdeenshire, the Abzu, Aberdeen, ABZ. And you see this woman here, see with the mirror in her hand?
Oh, yeah.
Where's the mirror pointing to? It's pointing up into the North Celestial Pole. She's looking into heaven. She's in the mirror looking into heaven. But it's vanity. She's looking at herself. So on the standing stones, we see the mirror here. And sometimes they actually do have the mirror, let's see, and the comb.
Oh, wow, yeah.
Vanity.
Wow.
And the story behind that is Cassiopeia is the wife of Ethiopia or Cephas. And the spelling of it is A-E, Ethiopia, A-E, N-K-A. Okay, so as I go through the story of the Unuma Elish, I'm identifying who Enki is. He is Cephas the king. Cephas. And his wife is Damna or Damina, which means your demeanor, like your persona, your demeanor. So it's the same story. In the Babylonian story, her name is Damina or Damana or Demeanor, which is your demeanor, how you personify yourself. And in the Greek story, the same being is called Persephone.
Yeah. Wow.
Persona, your persona, which again all ties to the legal system. And the mirror, what this is all about is vanity, vanity, vanity. It's the story of the gods. The gods, the Elohim, loved themselves more than they loved the creator. That's what it's about. And this is why you've got the two suns in this stone here being split. So the sun had a negative energy and a positive energy. That's what I've came to the conclusion of. And it was a twin which split. and we have Sirius, and we have our sun. That's what I've came to the conclusion it is. Because as you
Sorry, you think, Stephen, that when they split, it became the sun and the sun behind the sun with Sirius. So those are the twins.
Sirius, yeah, they
Wow.
were, I believe it was a dual atomic sun in the sky, and it split. Yeah, and this is what we see. Um, the sun itself is, I'm beginning to see that the sun is Tiamat and Apsu. The sun is Tiamat and Apsu. But from Tiamat and Apsu came all these beasts and other creatures because there was a war going on and they're trying to preserve each other. And you see the same story in the story of Rhea or Gaia and Uranus. When the children get chopped up, when Uranus gets chopped up, he produces semen and it produces these beasts. It's like a self-preservation. He's getting chopped up and killed, and all these beasts and monsters come out of his body being decimated there. And it's the same with Tiamat as well. As Tiamat in the Babylonian story gets chopped up, she begins from her fluid and from her body, from this great primordial sun or this whatever it is, comes the other lights or stars, gods.
Yeah.
So, and this is what we're fighting now. It was a battle between vanity, gods who seen themselves superior in every way, and it's all about vanity. And this is why the meteor hit in Cassiopeia. And this is what our ancestors are showing us. Partly, I believe it's not all of it. It's partly what they're showing us, because what I've discovered is the whole spine of Albion and all the houses up it are a journey of our soul. And when you get to Orion's belt, as the Egyptians believed, the Orion was ego, Osiris. You had to get over the ego and sacrifice your Christ and yourself, purify yourself to go up to the higher heavens. And so this is what the story of the gods really are. As I said to you earlier on, the story of the gods are our inner divine nature, some of it good and some of it bad. And that's what the stories of the gods are. The battles in the heavens are have manifest down into this lower realm, into our physical world. And that's why it's so important to know the heavens. And that's why our ancestors wrote these stories in the heavens, showing you where the beasts are. And those beasts are in our lives too, or they come into our lives, you know. When I was talking to Fergus about this, I realized that it's a lot of information. I've been on the journey for a long time, so it's natural for me, terminology and stuff like that. But it never used to be. 10 years,
Yeah.
10 years ago, I knew about standing stones, but I didn't know the stories of the heavens. But now I'm familiar with the stories in the heavens. It's not in any way difficult. But I think what I seen Fergus' face at one point, it's the same way, not just Fergus, I'm talking about everybody. They say, but this is just a whole new thing to learn.
Yeah.
And, I'm sick of having to learn. Surely God would make it just easy. If the divine creator would make it easy and we wouldn't have to learn all this stuff. But the point I was making is that we've had to learn the world, and the world that we're living in, we've had to learn as we grow up. You move into technology and time and clocks and things. You learn everything as you go through life. But those things that they've gave us in life is all false.
Yeah.
And in previous generations, this wasn't difficult because that's all there was to learn. The heavens
Yeah.
were all that there was. So you personally knew who you were. By the time you were 6 or 7 year old, you could probably identify things in the heaven and things that would change your behavior.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because the stars, you would know, or certain stars, or when a full moon or a blood moon, or it's not going to be, you would know, and it would all come naturally. So you didn't have to learn this. In fact, what I was saying to Fergus, I showed him that Arthur the Great Bear, or Ursa, or Demeter, or Artemis, whatever you want to call the Ursa Major, the Great Bear, is the letter A because it makes the A frame down Britain. So when you went to school, we go to school now, and it'd be A for apple, B for ball, C for cat. In the
Yeah.
ancient days, it wouldn't have been like that. For a start, your blackboard, and the reason why we have a blackboard is because the sky was your blackboard,
Yeah. Yeah.
right?
Wow. Yeah.
You looked up, you seen art per or Artemis or Demeter, the same word. Arthur and Demeter are the same word. In fact, I've discovered the hill here. There's two hills here. I've discovered when Fergus was here that one of the hills is called Beattie, and it sits in the Abzu in Aberdeenshire. It's called Beattie, and that's actually the little bear. The shape of it is a bear, but it looks like a boar. And the hill that's quite near me, Tap of the North, it is the baby bear. Sorry, the father bear and the baby bear, or the mother bear and the baby bear. And the hill is called Beneshi, or Mither Tap, they call it. Mither Tap is how they speak up here in Aberdeenshire. Mither is the word Demeter. Same word. The Greek word Demeter is the Mither Tap. If you were going to climb a hill here, the hill's called Mither Tap or Benehi. If you were going to climb it, you would say to somebody here, I'm going up the Mither Tap. Demeter. So the hill's still called Demeter, the Mother Tap. And it also sounds like the word a meteor.
Mm.
And the hill itself that's here represents the great bear and the little bear. I'm sitting between two hills. One's a little bear and it's an actual physical hill that's 1,000 odd feet high, and the other one's another 1,000 odd feet high. These are the physical shapes of bears or boars. That you can, whatever way you look at it, you can see them. It looks like a bear or it looks like a boar. One's a little one and one's a big one. And the little one is called Demeter. Sorry, the big one's called Demeter, which is the mother bear, Ursa Major. What they called it. And we up in Aberdeenshire call it the Mither Tap. The Mither Tap.
Yeah.
And it's got the maiden stone under it. And the maiden stone is connected with Demeter's daughter, Persephone, of the Greek.
Back to it again.
And
I think that's the hard bit for people, isn't it, Stephen? That like it's all theatre. Everything that they're providing for us, it's telling us what it is, isn't it? That matrix, that hijack, whatever you want to say. But that everything we've been taught is a lie, and like you say, we're having to unlearn all the nonsense and the lies of what we've learned, isn't it? It's just like wow. And
I had a fantastic time with Fergus, because a very intelligent man, a very clever man. So
and we should say as well, for those people watching that don't know who Fergus is Fergus O'Connor Greenwood, who wrote a book called 180 Degrees. I think it's available on Amazon. Plug for you there. Oh, he's got a copy. Oh, brilliant.
Oh, it's got a bit of.
I've not met Fergus, but I know a lot of people who have met him, and I will have to perhaps get him on the show. And it's a big book, isn't it?
It's a huge book.
Going into everything that's just complete utter fabrication of the matrix, really, is in extreme detail. But he went to visit Stephen, and Stephen's been popping his wig.
He is a great guy. But like I said to you, we spoke about the whole epicenter, the Epstein. Every single, like you just said there, that we're living in it's a staged reality, and you and I had a conversation just before we come on, but I think it's important to say this, that there are a lot of people following everything on the media, and everything's a lie. It's all in the heavens. Every single story is in the heavens. And when Fergus was here, he brought up the whole Epstein thing a few times, and I thought, how do I show that?
Slightly kill it.
And show that, because if we're not focused on the heavens, and this is what I say this to everyone, the heavens is the most important thing in this creation. If we don't understand the heavens and how they interact with it, in fact, if you're not looking at the heavens, you're not aware, awake, alive, or whatever you want to call it. If you don't know the heavens by now, if you haven't realized that you need to know how this heavens above you interact with you, if you haven't realized that, you're nowhere near ready to be aware of anything. There's no understanding really happening. That sounds quite harsh, but it's true. Because the conversation I had with Fergus was, and anybody that follows my work on Facebook will know, not for a few years, but for the first 5 or 6 years, I decoded the news. Every news story I decoded every single day on Facebook, and it all ties to the heaven. And example of that was Fergus was talking about. Everybody talks about it, so I'll speak about it here before I need to move into the Tiamat stuff. But I'll speak about the Epstein thing. The Epstein thing is the Stein. The Stein is the stone, like standing stone, and the stone is like the Kaaba stone, the Mecca stone, right? The stone is the center of heaven. So Polaris is the stone. So the epicenter or epistine is the center of heaven. Ghislaine Maxwell is the spine of Albion. The Gale line, Maxwell. The Maxwell is the fountain of the Abzu, the well, the maximum well. Her father was called Robbing the Maxwell, stealing, like we had Robert the Bruce, stealing from there. Barosh, the head, Barus, Beroshit Bara, the first word, Beroshit Bara. Robert Baruch. Yeah. And then you've got Robert Maxwell. Wherever you see the word Robin Hood, stealing from the Brotherhood, the story of Robin Hood and all that, although the story is flipped, he's stealing from the rich to give to the poor. But Robin Hood is the same, because if you remember the Robin Hood movie, Prince of Thieves, we spoke about on the last video, the tree got chopped down. It's all to do with stealing from the well. So we spoke about Epstein, we spoke about St. James's Island and how St. James is the word Jacob, and Saint means street, the narrow way. Again, St. James's Island. There's two islands. There's Lesser, Little St. James, and Big St. James. There's two islands over there. Well, they represent Ursa Major and Ursa Minor, the island in the stream of life.
Islands in the stream.
The Caribbean,
where the
Caribbean goes, where the being, the spirit goes. Where did it all happen? The Epstein thing, the children, and then what I had said to him as well. What I'm going to talk about today. There's three heavens we've got to pass through to get up to the upper heaven. There's three levels. So the upper world, the middle earth, and the lower world. And there's three virgins. Three childlike natures we've got to sacrifice. And again, I'm not saying that sacrifice isn't happening. They are feeding. I said this to Fergus. Yes, in order for these reptilian monsters, beasts from the heavens to live for thousands of years, they need adrenochrome. But again, adrenochrome is Andromeda. It's all in the heavens. So the story's all in the heavens. Everything's in the heavens. And so they've created fear. There was even boats sitting off on the coast of America waiting to go to Epstein Island. And if you remember all the stories, it was just fear, fear, fear. But actually, the stories that are telling is code. The Gale line, the Maxwell, the fountain of life, the epicenter, which is the center of heaven, your pineal gland, your throne, the same as above. He went to prison. He died in a cell. Cells. A cell is a part of the body. The cell splits. He looked like a rubber man, if you remember when they brought him out. Remember they brought him out. So, that was a dummy. It's an empty vessel. It's just a rubber mask. Well, the soul's it's a journey of the soul. Soul, cell. He hung himself in the cell, and the hanged man on the cross. So every single story is complete lie. It's the story in the heavens. Every story is a fabrication of the heavens. That's what I'm trying to get at. And many people, unless you know that's the point I'm making, unless you really study the myths, the stories, you won't understand how these apply to your physical being, your mind, because every single story in the news is written on the standing stones, and it was also written on you. It's written on the tree of life, which is over Britain, and it's written on you, which is the tree of life in you. And we need to look at the heavens. So enough of that. Let's look at.
No, it's amazing. I know Neil was saying, if you're still looking at all that theatre, like I was saying on a podcast with my friend Ant the other day, then what is being awake? You think you're awake, but awake is a party for the dead. You're still not getting it. They still got you, haven't they? I mean, Stephen, I think off camera we touched on as well, and I think it'd be quite interesting just to know, because I know we kind of got onto it after the Ghislaine Maxwell kind of decode there, about that kind of idea of, you know, saving the chrism oil and working with the planets. And I know you said that you've practiced that. And I know I was talking with Ant on his Stellified podcast, and we were saying, and I know you're going to get into this in some detail, so I won't bang on too much more about it, but that we are the Elohim, because I was saying, well, we are gods. Why everything that they're trying to tell you to ascend, or you know, it's just more construct, isn't it? Because if we are the gods, and we're perceiving them as gods, and we've just forgotten who we are. It's
Yeah.
just bullshit, for want of a better word, isn't it?
Yeah, we don't need to practice anything. All we need to do is observe
Mm.
the heavens,
Yeah,
and
exactly.
everything will rise.
Wow.
But we can improve our life. That
Sure.
Kundalini existence and that all the yoga and all that exists. But really, as long as our minds that is the throne of heaven, and if the throne of heaven is focused on the seven lights of creation, which are your seven chakras, your seven churches, and the seven lights of the North Celestial Pole, if you're aware that true time comes from there and all the rest is just a pick and mix, and some of it
Yeah.
will cause you harm and some of it will bring you good. And the ecliptic, or the houses, the 12 houses where the pick and mix is. And in the lower world, the third realm, which is the material world and financial world, once you start tying yourself up into that, you fall out of that ecliptic, your own house, and you become a slave in their house. And this is really
Yeah.
what the message of the Bible is all about. And Jesus calling the 12 disciples, representing the 12 houses, he was calling them into discipline. Into discipline of what? The above, the Father above. You're out of order, out of sync with the celestial above. And if you're chasing the world below, and I'll show this as well on the software. Actually, I'll flip to it right now, this software, because I've got it sitting there. What we're talking about here is the North Celestial Pole, right? And what the North Celestial Pole is, the pole star. All time is measured from the pole star. And what you're looking at is Ursa Minor, the little bear here.
Yeah.
Okay,
Uh-huh.
and his tail is always on Polaris, the pole star. Now,
Mm.
right next to that, it's quite clear to see you've got the dragon. Now,
Yes.
this is the Ab-Zu, or Apsu, which I am still going to look at, and I've got a Word document I'm going to read here. It's part of my book, actually, first edit, or part of a first edit. And the reason why I'm going to read from you the book is because the New Testament in the book of Jude talks about those who kept not their first estate. And my book is called, or one of my first book is called Statement, like the letter E, statement like you get from a bank,
Yeah.
Statement against the established mind, or meant. This is what the first book's called. And in this book, I'm going to define what the estates are in the heavens,
Yeah.
and where each of these angels, and this is what we're doing today, which estate in the heavens, which constellation, the estates up there became the estates down here, the British estates. And that's how they managed to take over the body of Adam, by taking over the estates. And this is what my first book is about, how those who gave up their estates in the heaven, the descendants of Tiamat, Apsu, the 11 creatures, and the gods, or those who declared themselves gods, how they took over the heavenly estates that they were cast out from. It's exactly the same as the Bible tells you, except Christianity and the other religions are all practicing it. Now, Islam is doing the circling the Kaaba stone, which represents the pole star, right? And the Muslims will circle anti-clockwise, the same as this moves. They'll circle
Yeah.
7 times, and they'll throw 360 stones at the devil or the gods. It's this is in Judaism, they have 7 lights of the menorah. These 7 constellations, these 7 lights are sitting on the tree of life, the Kabbalah, not the Kabbalah tree, the tree of life. And below in the lower world is the Kabbalah tree. But everybody's living on the Kabbalah tree rather than living on the tree of life. So all the religions, it's up here in the sky. This is what I'm trying to show people. And what I want to show here is you'll see the draconian system here. This is Draco. And this is the
Yeah.
primordial Absu, the primordial energy, the male energy, which the Bible and Revelation calls the great dragon.
Mm.
Great dragon, red dragon sometimes, and these are where
Right.
all the bloodlines come from. So
Yeah.
what I'll show here is, let's see, you can see here, look, see the bear. Oh, I'll actually move it down a little bit. Now watch this. This is the tree of life. The bear, which is a minor, you're seen as a minor in the church, in the law, in the legal system. You see the bear never leaves. I'm going through the hours 17, 18, 19. So I'm on the 15th of the 11th, 2024. I'm a day ahead here. But you can see how the bear never, the little bear, never,
Yeah.
ever leaves.
It's the same.
I can't remember if I said this on the last recording. Jesus said
Yeah.
it's easier for a camel to go through the eye of the needle than it is
Yeah.
for the noble. There's the camel. It's called camelarpatus. And
No way.
it never ever goes through. This is the eye of the needle that he's talking about.
Yeah.
He says it's easier for a camel. It's more likely he's taking a piss. He's talking about the Campbell family because they took their names. The Scottish people called the Campbells. There's a war between the Campbells and the MacDonalds.
Mm.
The Campbells are the Camelarpases. They take their name from there. In fact, the name Camelot comes from
Oh,
that because
wow.
Edinburgh and Falkirk used to be. There's a place next to Falkirk today. It's still called Camelon or Camelan.
Right. Wow.
Because immediately above Falkirk is this
Yeah.
camel, the eye of the needle. It looks like a giraffe in this software, but it's actually known as Camelarpidus. It's a beast. It's one of the 11 beasts. We're a way to look at actually. So when you know that this is a beast here as well, we're a way to look at the creation of Tiamat and all the beasts. When you realise that this is one of the beasts, Camelarpidus is a mixture of a camel, a leopard, and a leo, a lion. So it's a crossbreed of all these different creatures in mythology. And it's one of the offspring. And when Jesus says it would be easier for a camel to enter heaven.
Yeah. Because he never touched it.
He's talking about the beasts. It would be easier for one of these beasts to come into heaven. So the Campbell bloodline on earth were descendants of one of the beast families there. And what Jesus is saying is it's more likely that one of them would go through than a rich man. But the word isn't rich man, it's noble. And noble's a word meaning star. The fallen one. No Baals, no Baals. We are ruled by the house of nobles, the house of the noble families. And this is the beast system. They're the nobles. So when Jesus says it would be easier for a noble, it's not rich. We've replaced that words for rich man. It would be easier for a noble or a camel to go through than a noble. So the two of them are beasts. Yeah.
These beasts, the descendants of these beast families, basically, to kind of get out. They can't get out.
If you think of that verse that Jesus says, I know you're familiar with the Bible, but you're not, like a scholar like me and a lot of other people.
No, I definitely call myself a scholar.
But a lot of people read those verses and go, oh, but they don't ask what it is. What? But that's it. It's in the heavens. In fact, there's much study about what it is, and it's all wrong. I've as in Christianity and Judaism, I've taught the wrong thing because I've not understood it or took it in. But this is what it is. But the thing that I want to show here is this bear is always round in the dragon. And this is what's known as the Abzu, the primordial center of heaven. But we need to understand where that Abzu is. And anybody who follows my work knows where that Abzu is. It's here. And we're on one actually, but that'll do. It's all right. It's here in Scotland because the house of Cephas is the Abzu. Oh, sugar, what's happening there? Stop it. So Cephas, this is all the standing stones all mapped according to the heavens. So these are standing stones in the shape of the house. And this is where I began my journey, the house of Cephas as a child, mapping this. And the Abzu, I will find another image. The Abzu is marked clearer on this here. Now this book, where was the book? You should be able, hopefully, this book here, it's all backwards again anyway. Star, Stones and Scholars, the Decipherment of the Megaliths by Andis Collins. And I'll put a link to that, or somebody I can send you.
Yeah,
it's a very important book because he's basically went around the entire earth and all the ancient megalithic standing stones, burrows, and everything. All he's pinpointed that they're all focused on one thing, and that's the center of heaven, the North Celestial Pole. Every single standing stone's telling the same picture, no matter, and that's what I'm telling people, the same thing.
Yeah.
But in his book, this is a screenshot. It's not very good, but this is where I used to live. It says I live here. That's where I used to live. Easter Aquatis stone circle. And the word Easter is east, obviously. And the word Aquatis is Gallic. Horites, or Hortes, means the central pole or the pole star. Right? It means the pole star. So Easter Aquatis stone circle, which is here at the House of Cephas, represents east of the center of heaven, the pole star, right? And you'll see here, it's not very good in this image, you'll see a circle here. Do you see it? Going round. It's actually not a good image. I should actually go, let me see, sorry guys. There's a better one. There's a better one, okay? So you see here, down here, it says pole star, present pole star.
Yeah.
This is Aberdeen. So direct north, the pole star, the gate of heaven is over Aberdeen, then reflected down onto Edinburgh. As above, so below, right? But you see this procession here. So what I just showed on here, go back. There's the bear. There's the pole star, right? So I'm going to spin it round. And see this line here? This line here, what he spins round is, where's my pictures? Is that line there, okay? You see it?
Yes. Yeah.
This performance. And in the center here, this is what we're going to look at. In the House of Cephas, which is, I used to live up here, and this is the main road to Aberdeen. It's called the A96, and all along there you've got standing stones. Then you've got the road to Braemar and Balmoral down here. Yeah, you're starting to see. I'm mentioning Balmoral and Braemar for a reason, because we know who's there or what's there. So the house goes down. So, and this procession, everything goes round in a circle here, meaning this here would be the absolute center. Somewhere here would be the absolute center at the moment. And yeah, so.
And you say, Stephen, that they come up these, from the underworld in those areas, don't they? The Rose Line, they use that as an energy harvest, and obviously at Balmoral or whatever,
Yeah, the world is made of water, and we're floating on water, standing on pillars. And the star forts are the land that we have. We have much more land now than we used to have, because the disaster brought the seabed up, and a lot of the waters are drained away. So we had salt canal waterways, deep waterways everywhere, separating the cities. The cities that we stand today were separated by salt canal systems, and they have drained them away. But underneath the surface of this earth, as we see the earth, the surface, there are vast waterways, which these primordial beings, spirits, demons pass upon as a highway. We are also 80 or 90 odd % water. So if you are not fixed on the central pole of heaven and know where God is and that you are the divine, then you will be hijacked over and over and over again in our lives. And we are. All my life, I've been demonically attacked. I've watched people, me and Fergus were actually speaking about it, who have been ill for years, who is demonic attack, that it's holding them in. And this is what I said in the last video that we made. I said, what I've stumbled on is a miracle for everyone if we get our heads around this and we can fit ourselves into this movement, because we cannot be possessed. Illness cannot take a hold of us. If we're the only reason why they can possess us is because everything is water, memory, maritime. Time is water, maritime. And if we don't understand this primordial deep and the spirit that hovers between the primordial waters, which is you and I, if we can't pull that primordial deep into something, order rather than chaos, because it's a living entity. Order order and chaos living together. If we can't rein that in our own lives, it's a duality thing, yeah, then we're never going to, leave this realm as such. So yeah, that was all. So what I'm going to do is we're going to now finally, this is from my book, and it's about the estates. What I'm doing here is establishing the estates of the gods, and then the next chapter in the book, I'm not going to read the book, but the next chapter in the book goes on to how physical estates, landmass, such as Balmoral Estate became Balmoral Estate, how
Can I just ask you, Stephen, when you say, because perhaps people, I try and think of what I'd like to ask, but perhaps people watching it obviously would ask. So when you say like leave this realm, obviously, like you said that the Draco can't leave, although those families can't leave, can they? And that's
no,
why they're like, keep them here, shut them up, right? Don't let them, for God's sake, distract them with all that theatre so that we don't kind of know who we are. But I
yeah,
suppose, like you said, going through that North Celestial Pole or through the Belt of Orion, was it? And I might be getting these two things mixed up. You can correct me.
the middle
But
journey is Orion. The upper realm, or the kingdom of heaven, is beyond Orion. It's beyond the great hunt, beyond Artemis and Diana, the great hunt. So you've got a
yeah,
hunt of Orion, which we've seen in the American elections. Remember, they went in the White House. He was all dressed up and with the horns and all that. And he was. Remember, they
yeah,
took over the White House during Trump's first election.
yeah.
So, and that was about Orion's, us moving into Orion's belt, which is the Nimrod, the rebel inside, the natural man, what you would naturally do, your soul desires and your material and carnal desires. And you've got to get through the Taurus field, the great hunt, Canis Major, Canis. You've got to get through that, sacrificing the Orion spirit, the Nimrod, which is the second
Yeah,
child, because Nimrod or Orion is the adult, so it's the second child you've got to sacrifice. The three Bridgets, as the Christian, not the Christians, as the Celtic people seen it, they seen it as the young bride, the rum Bridget, or the young maiden, and this all ties to the maiden stone that I was talking about earlier on, and Persephone and all this. So you've got to sacrifice the maiden, the middle adolescence, and you've got to learn the lesson again as you're older. So this is the
yeah,
three virgins, which is seen
yeah,
and Orion's belt is the middle virgin sort of thing. You've got to sacrifice the adolescent child, and you.
yeah.
Yes, you know everything. I'm an adult. I know everything. But you're still
I think
learning.
that's where I am. I think that's where I'm at. Oh, I've just given that one up. I've just given her up
This is what it's all
recently.
about. The lower realm, Tartarius, or the lower world, which is mapped over southern England. So what we understand, I was saying this to Fergus, what we understand as Stonehenge and all that. Stonehenge is the Kabbalah tree, upside down Kabbalah tree. It's reflecting exactly what was above, but
Yeah,
it's reversed. So
yeah,
Stonehenge is the underworld, the lower
right.
realm. And you'll have a maiden stone there or something that is to do with the young maiden. So you have to sacrifice the youth in you, the child in you. And this is the same story of the Celtic Bridget, three brides, who were all one
Yeah.
god. There's one god, but there's three Bridgets.
And do you think is that why they get us? I mean, I've never actually been, but getting people to go down to Stonehenge because
Yeah,
it's
it's
kind
the
of not
underworld.
what we think it is. It's the underworld. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
when we leave this realm, Stephen, where do you think it is that we go? Do you think that just does that mean to you that we kind of come out of matter and back into spirit and rejoin the
There's a
creative?
tree. I believe the tree is the movement of the houses over us. That is what the
Yeah,
canopy of the heavens is, the tree. Because Fergus was asking this, can you show me a map of the physical tree? And I was saying, well, we've had 8 ages so far. We're on the eighth age. And the pole star, the center of heaven, moves throughout time. They tried to tell us we're on a ball on the spinning earth, and that's why it wobbles. So the pole star moves.
yeah,
And I explained this to Fergus. It's clear. You go to a village or a town, and a village with 100 people or 200 people, and it has 5 churches. Why has it got 5 churches? One was built in the 1500s, one in the 1700s. One. Why did they have to build so many churches? Because we had this procession of the equinoxes, ages, and the pole moved. So you cannot physically just write the tree. There's the tree, and there's the branches over Britain. That road, there's the tree. That road's a branch. That's the tree. And the Kabbalah tree is reversed. All of it's moved, and so all over bottom of England, you have the underworld being mapped by standing stones, and the upper world, both the middle world and the upper world. And then you get to middle Britain, and you've got the upper world and the upper world being mapped on the stones. And then you get to the area that I'm in, the north of Scotland, and all you have is the upper world.
Yeah.
Upper constellations written on the stones. So there is this 3 levels, and the Kabbalah tree is not part of that. London and the Kabbalah are a reflection of the underworld. That's their tree. And most people are living on that lower realm, which is what I want to. This is why we haven't even started this, but this is why it's important to look at the Babylonian story. Once you understand the Babylonian creation of the gods of the heavens, or whatever you want to call it, then you can then see how the heavens interact with us, and how the Greek stories and how the Celtic stories, and they all connect together, because it's not difficult as well. You can go out there and connect what god is the Greek god and the Celtic god, and what god. It's easy, and this is what I've done, and I'm in the middle of doing as well. I'm still doing it. In order to understand what every planet and every astronomism is, and in order to understand what the 3 levels are. Because Christianity, as I said at the beginning, Paul talks about the third heaven. I knew a man who was caught up to the third heaven, be he in the physical flesh or of the spirit, I do not know, but he was caught up into paradise. Well, paradise is the center of heaven, the pole star. That is paradisio. In fact, the camel that we just spoke about has the word cameloparadis, camelopardus, the camel who sits under camel low pardus.
Yeah.
Camel who sits low paradise. The camel who sits paradise.
I can only ever say wow, Stephen. It's like you're probably one of the only men in the country who can just shut me up. Stood the spell into silence, like you and Neil and a few of us. Awesome, amazing.
I hope this is going to be good. I haven't even started talking about the bloody gods yet. It's like
I'm hooked. I'm hooked.
I said to my friend there the other day as well. I said, "Oh, I don't know. I haven't prepared anything, but it'll not really be a problem because I'm just going to do what I'm working on." And they said to me, "You're not short of words anyway." And I went, "I know." So it'll be all right. So I'm going to go and read through this. This is not chapter. I haven't put it in a chapter yet, actually, but this is an introduction to the estates from the book that I'm putting together. So I'll just read it as everybody can see it anyway. In order for us to become the living being which the Creator created us to be in this world, we need to understand the nature of the cosmos and how its ever-flowing energies, or sin waves, interact with our own physical electromagnetic bodies. So Genesis 1:14, though veiled to the eyes of most readers, clearly tells us to observe the signs in the heavens, which most Christians avoid, but it's right there. And we're the Elohim, by the way, of Genesis 1.
Yeah.
So we tell ourselves to observe the heavens. How that works, I don't know, but we're eternal. So yeah, we've told ourselves to observe the heavens. Because
that's amazing, isn't it, when you think of it like that, Stephen? Like, this is us telling ourselves, and they're still not getting it.
We've made a note for ourselves. Yeah. But because of religion, we get to Genesis chapter 2. I was actually saying this to Fergus. Like, we've got the whole creation story, and it's finished, and it was good, done, dusted, happy days, all over. Genesis 2, verse 6. It starts creating again. I'm like, look at it, Fergus. And I say, look at it. Why is there another? Everything was perfect, so why we get another creation story? And people who just like take a cursory look at the Bible say, something not right. It's like the stories are well, because they've got different deities at work here who have put the Bible together. Chapter 2 is a different deity. It's Yud-Heh-Vav-Heh. It's the primordial gods who rebelled. So the whole world, as the New Testament, Jesus says, the whole world has sought the beast and chased after the beast. And he is the God of this world. It tells us in the New Testament, he is the God of this world. But people don't believe it. They're opening their Bibles and doing exactly what the God of this world is telling them to do. You know, they're not sacrificing animals anymore, but they're throwing all their money into a pot which buys bullets and guns to create wars, and you know they're giving a tenth of their to a false god and following the rules of a false god and the festivals and the interactions of the heavens of a false god. You know, who gives some of the game away. He actually does through the Bible. It actually does give some of the proper instructions, but you know, yeah, God kills Moses. Moses does all this for him, and then he kills him. Like shit. Moses doesn't
Losing
get
the title.
yeah. Like, do everything I tell you, and I'm going to kill. Or if you don't, I'm going to kill you. That's not God, but people need to understand that. This is the primordial deep that we're dealing with. So Genesis 1:14, though veiled to the eyes of most readers, clearly tells us to observe the signs in the heavens. We need to know the signs in the heavens. What is evident in Genesis is all the signs are above us, nowhere else. All the signs we ever need are within the dome, the firmament, or what I refer to as the canopy of the heaven, or the canopy of the tree. We've got to use our dome and intelligence we've all been given if we want to understand how we find the divine inspiration within. And the Welsh word for divine inspiration is awen. Amen. The Hebraic word in Genesis 1:14 for signs is otot, which is plural, and otot, or ot, sorry, singular. This word can mean a sign or an omen. It means an omen. So, and I love the Prodigy. Yeah. So I used to love the Prodigy. Whenever it's an omen. Whenever I see this, I think Prodigy songs, because the Prodigy songs are just riddled with stuff that triggers my mind anyway. So it's the same word as the Celtic.
Take your brain to another dimension. Take
Yeah,
your brain
take
to
your brain to another dimension.
Take close attention.
Attention. Yeah, it's all about the habits, you see, as well. Everything really, I'm not everything, but the early stuff, yeah. So the Hebraic word used is otot or ot, which means, it's the same word as omen. It means omen. And that word omen, of course, is the word amen, and the Celtic or Brittonic word awen, awen. And the reason why I'm mentioning that is because I've got standing stones in Scotland with the symbol of awen or amen on it. So, and I'm going to show that picture. Can you remind me of the cross, the standing stone, and amen? If you can, because I'll forget, but it's important why after I go through this. So, give me 2 seconds. Sorry, folks, I need a drink of water.
No worries.
Sorry, my lips are stuck together.
No, got it.
So,
I'm always drinking. I have my water and my coffee. I have 2 things on the go. Keep
where I am, this is
moist, so to speak.
We have our own where I am just now, and the water's absolutely brilliant. When Fergus he was saying as well, oh, the water's lovely, but he's living in Kent, so the water's probably horrendous.
He's in the bowels of hell, though, isn't he? Down there, those southerners.
Yes, yeah. Where did my chair go? That's what I need. Yeah, so I'm sorry I'm reading like just from this, but
no, it's brilliant. No,
so it is by only knowing the cosmos, the signs, or the otot, Hebrew otot, that we can become the living man or the living woman that we are meant to be. So we need to look at the earliest creation stories to understand who or what we are. Where did we come from? And why do I always personally refer to us as the Elohim? As does the Bible in many places, including Jesus. He tells us that the kingdom of God is within and you are God. So I'm not saying anything different from what he said, but Jesus' words has been taken wrong by Christianity. We know as an Essene, he was telling us the essence, the druid, the truth, because the word druid relates to the follower of the red sun. It means follower of the red sun, druid, or it means truth. It can mean truth. That's what druid means.
Right,
so wow. I am the truth and the life. He was actually saying, I am the druid and the path of life that the druids take. Yeah. So anyway, so it's only by knowing the cosmos, the signs, that we can become the living man or living woman we're meant to be. Where did we come from, and why do I personally refer to us as the Elohim? How did the constellations and asterisms we know as stars come into being? What's their story? How did this duality of energies, which we witness in the heavens and on the earth, how did it come from nothing? We all know the saying, as above, so below, and so too within. But where do these sayings come from? We say it willy-nilly, as above, so below, but we don't take it in our heads. Most people I speak to have no idea of anything in the heavens, but yet they'll throw this saying that's been thrown in our face for years, actually. But we don't take it on board when it's actually saying, as above, so below, and within, because this is the thing I'm discovering. Not only is every single standing stone placed over Britain, but every single standing stone is a part in the body and the brain and the body, all of it. It's functions of the human body. And I use that word lightly, human, because I don't like using that word. The human is what they've hewed out of the earth. We're gods, we're Elohim. But the physical body is marked by the standing stones and by the constellations. And if we don't understand the heavens, we won't understand how the body functions. That's what I'm getting at. So where do these?
Is that kind of like we're saying it, Stephen, chasing that kind of 5D pseudo spirituality, like everyone's being led down the absolute garden path. It's not the Edenic garden path, that's for sure.
No, it's all been prepared. That's what we were. We were talking about everything is fake. Yeah, everything's fake. Everything's a story in the heavens. I've been watching the stories in the heavens so long that every single news story is a story in the heavens. Immediately, as soon as I see it, and it's not just that. My partner's the same. My partner was with me when Fergus was here, and she was finishing all the sentences.
Yeah.
It was great because I was being the scholarly mind like I was, and she was just being the layman. She was finishing off, and I looked at her. We've only been together over a year, and I thought, yeah, we all, once you know it, you know it.
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
And she knows it, and she was so good as well, putting it across to Fergus. But it's not just that; it's the same with everybody. I said that to Fergus, and I say that to everybody I meet. Once I meet people and I speak this into their lives, it's like magic. People know it; they go away and know it for themselves, and then we all speak the same language, and this is what we need to know. So we have Genesis 1 to 9, which covers what most of the monotheistic religions believe or teach about creation. But is there anything older than the canon of scripture? Because, you get so many people, Bible's been, well, was there anything older? And the reason why I read the beginning of the Bible is because I'm going to show that it's the same thing. What we are going to read here is exactly the same thing. So there is one such ancient text as the Babylonian tablets known as the Enuma Elish. So, like the Genesis story, it describes in great detail a watery primordial deep, and I would recommend that everybody read it and not read it with a head of, oh, fear, it's the gods, it's the Babylonian Baals. No, this is your physical body. The story of the gods are actually the physical manifestations that are in our lives, that appear in our lives. There are living creatures. Possibly more. and then also they have the demons that are attached to them, which is what we have to deal with. But if we're focused on the North Celestial Pole, they're all dealt with. That's the key of it all. So it describes, Enuma Elish describes a worldwide flood and has tales of men of renown, just as the Bible, the gods. It has stories of cyclops, giants, and strange beasts, which Genesis 6 does as well, and Genesis 9 of the Bible. It talks about giants and beasts and so on. It also gives a detailed analysis of the formation, and this is important. It gives a detailed analysis of the formation of the 12 houses and their planetary movements. And within this text, we not only get the names of most of these primordial beings, we also get their stations and their houses in the canopy in the heavens, and who was responsible for those parts above and below on the earth. So I'd like to open this investigation of the cosmos, the heavenly bodies, with the story of Tiamat and Absu. Now, the reason why Tiamat and Absu is... I'm back. And there's the gods. There they are. Well, there I've got a list. The reason why Tiamat and Absu is, where are you? Where are you?
No.
This video. That was me up in the very north of Scotland. Well, that picture right here. So we're talking about Absu. Okay. Now here's Aberdeen. That map I just showed you, and
Yeah.
this guy, Andis Collins, who's mapped every single standing stone throughout the world and is telling us that every standing stone is pointing to the North Celestial Pole, which is the gate of heaven. That's what he's telling us. And he's Latvian originally, but lives in America. He's a lawyer, by the way. Harvard. I think he's a Harvard lawyer. Stanford University lawyer. He studied law. And I want to meet him because he studied the heavens, he studied law, he gets it, he knows that.
It is that in it. We were saying, and I was saying that when I was chatting with Neil on our last video, and he was saying, oh, to maybe separate the law. Or I said, no, they're so intricately connected. I've come to this through the law. I've found you through the law, and because it's the in it, they're entwined. They are one and the same thing, aren't they?
This is why I've continued studying the law and the heavens, because I realized early on that Orion's belt is the law between Libra and Cancer, and Aries is the law, the legal system.
Yeah.
Balance. And
my first, the Libra.
Jesus spoke against the law all the time. All the time. He was opposed to the law. And then once you realize that Jesus is actually a druid who's fighting the legal system, that's who he was. And
I'm a druid fighting the legal system. Yes.
You're the truth. You're the truth. The drawn out one of the red sun. You're the truth. Exactly what it is. This is why, I think because the red hair, the fair skin, and all this, it goes back to the Celtic red hair, red skin, fair skin. So there's, like I said at the beginning, there's a duality going on. There's Tiamat and Absu, and then there's this twins all the way through, which I mentioned to you as well. Why I think a lot of experimentation happened during the Holocaust and twins and quadruples and that. They were trying to get to the secret of creation and how to create a superhuman, probably from the 2 and 1 genetics, or quadruplets and 1 genetics. They were trying to make a super. Maybe they have, I don't know. But you'll see here the Absu that I'm away to speak about has been mapped by Andis Collins in his book. And this is a screenshot, which is what takes me back to when I was 10-year old, because I mapped all this personally myself when I was 10 and 12-year-old. So I can confirm exactly everything he's written in this. This is the most fantastic book I've ever bought, actually. It's the best.
Yeah, book. We'll link it below. I'll put a link up to it, Stephen, if people want to check it out.
I know I talk a lot about.
I'll be checking it
out. Yeah, I know I talk a lot about Combs Beaumont, another fantastic book, and these two books go hand in hand. Combs Beaumont talks about the real geography and the layout and where we really are, and he kind of touches on heavenly stuff, meteors, but my interest in the standing stones confirms what Combs Beaumont says about the meteor storm that happened in the time of Aries. It happened in the age of Aries, and this is when the war of the Tiamat and the Absu began in this primordial place, this place here. So this is why Balmoral is so important, because this is where the war of the gods began, in the Absu. Okay, so people will really need to go back and read over and listen to this. But so we're opening an investigation of the Absu. It's the foundation of the creation story in the Babylonian Enuma Elish. This is a summary of that story. There's so much in it to be read, and I'll send you the document as well, and I'll make this available. This thesis that somebody done for university, because I have to make reference to their work, copyright and all that. But it's a fantastic study, and I'm going to look at this. I'm going to open that document and then establish where the heavens, because there's 3 heavens there, and it gives you details there how the 3 heavens were created after the war. So onto the summary. Anyway, it's a summary of the story. So there's so much that these elite families have had through religious nonsense